Hi there, this is Josh from Literary Gladiators, and today I'm here with a book review. One thing that I was really interested in doing to kick off 2018 before getting ready for the Season 8 reading objectives was to read a presidential biography, and I specifically wanted to read a recently released presidential biography within the last year and ideally within the last few months. Another thing I was interested in doing was learning more about Dwight D. Eisenhower. He was our 34th president, and that's not mentioning the fact that he was a prolific general during the Second World War who oversaw our victory during the battle on Normandy Beach, which is known as D-Day, June 6th, 1944. A recently released biography about Dwight D. Eisenhower was Eisenhower Becoming the Leader of the Free World by Louis Galambos, and this is the book that I'm going to be reviewing today. Louis Galambos is a history instructor at Johns Hopkins University, and he was known for editing the papers of Dwight David Eisenhower. That was his big project, and now he has translated into this specified biography of his. Some of Eisenhower's noteworthy biographies are Ike's Bluff and Eisenhower in War and Peace. This is a bit different in where you're not going to learn every minuscule detail. It's not a traditional biography. This concentrates more on Dwight D. Eisenhower as a leader and the building blocks as to what inspired him to lead the way he did. If the information is not relevant to that, there's a good chance that it's not going to be included in this biography. While I would say that the first thing you should read in order to familiarize yourself with Eisenhower is a general biography, which you can find in any collected book about all of the U.S. presidents that gives you specific dates, whether it be when they served in office, when and where they were born, when and where they died, and the rest of that information. This makes mention to the fact that he was born in October of 1890. It does not say he was born October 14th, 1890, and it doesn't make mention of the fact that he died on March 28th, 1969. It makes mention to his wife and how he married Mamie Geneva Dowd, but it doesn't make reference to how they met, and it doesn't delve into their relationship. What it will delve into is information about his parents' demeanor and how that had an impact on the way he thought. Talks about his brothers. He had 2 older brothers and 3 younger brothers, but specifically the second oldest, Edgar, was always in they were always skirmishing, and they had this sibling rivalry, and Edgar would always win. He was the older brother. He was Big Ike. Anything they did, Edgar always came out on top. Edgar was always right. And the father had that kind of demeanor as well, despite the fact that he had proven that with his losses and how he was stuck working in a creamery, that he was not the kind of ideal leader that young Dwight should be looking up to. Eisenhower had an issue with authority for the sake of demanding obedience, and the fact that whether the obedient figure was right or wrong. They were right either which way. Eisenhower was more impacted by authoritative figures that served more as mentors and were actually more leaders than they were bosses. That is, a prime example is when he met General Fox Connor, who he met through General Patton. Connor did more to inspire him to want to follow, as opposed to feeling that he was forced. And the biography itself is split into 3 parts. The first one is his upbringing, his childhood, his experiences at West Point when he was coaching the football team, and how he struggled to make the break that he felt that he desired. The second part has to do with when he ultimately is comfortable in that position of colonel or general and his actions during the Second World War. The third part explores post-World War II and his experiences of being the chief of staff, the president of Columbia University, the overseeing figure of NATO, and then ultimately president of the United States. And what really grabbed my attention to Eisenhower in general is that he's been deemed as the second most moderate president our nation's ever had, only next to George Washington, who has been deemed the ultimate independent president. I read Washington's Farewell last year, and there was reference to Eisenhower being inspired by Washington's address in putting together his very own farewell address. But times really were different, and Eisenhower had great challenges in any which area he pursued, but I think that after reading this, I felt as if I was engaged and really had that sense of empathy for Eisenhower, and you can't help but feel for him when he was in that position where people were expecting that he do as he's told just because they're the leader and he's the follower. No feedback from the follower whatsoever. And I thought that this book did a great job for what it was worth. I think that if you're looking to get into the mind of a president and their position on leadership, this is a book that you should definitely check out. It's not very long. It's only 218 pages of reading material. This does not include the acknowledgments, the sources, and the index. But I would first suggest reading a general biography that you can find in any collection of U.S. presidential biographies, where you have biographies on all of them, like the complete book of U.S. presidents by William A. de Gregorio. If you're looking to learn more about Eisenhower, this is a great book to pick up. Then you could advance into bigger books, but I would say that ultimately you decide which method you would want to use, but I think that this is a good way to learn more about Eisenhower's demeanor. I gave this 4 out of 5 on my Goodreads, and I felt this was a great accomplishment from someone that has spent a lot of time delving into the subject of Dwight D. Eisenhower. Thank you for tuning into this video, and for now, keep reading.